Hey everybody, this is Rob. It is time for a brand new episode of Member Talks. Today we're going to be looking at a new program. We're going to do this on video this time because we want to show you some things. We've got Tom McConnell from Eternal Remembrance that's come on with us. He's coming on to talk with us a little bit about what this program is. It's a brand new program, and we're excited to be one of the first people to share it with you. So, Tom, welcome to Member Talks. How are you?
Good, Rob. Thank you very much for having me. It's exciting to be here, and I look forward to talking to all your members.
Well, we're grateful that you came on. I was kind of just thumbing through some of the social sites like I do late night, looking for something to do, and I see this post about Eternal Remembrance. I thought, well, what in the world is that? That seems kind of interesting. And it was the coin that got me. It was the coin that got me, and we'll get into what I'm talking about in a few minutes. But no, it was really cool. And so we reached out to you, and you were gracious enough to say, yes, I'll come on and talk with you. So welcome to Member Talks. Tell us, where are you right now? Where are you at?
I'm located, our office is located in central Pennsylvania, which is home is Crescent.
Okay.
Nobody ever knows where Crescent is. It's like a tiny little town. We're about 45 or 50 minutes south of State College.
All right.
So Penn State, Maine University's out there.
Yeah.
It's on top of the mountains in Pennsylvania.
Well, that's the great thing with technology. 10, 15 years ago, we couldn't have done this and
Right.
been able to have this one-on-one like this. But technology is advanced enough that we're able to do this and video it, have a video conference. And it kind of goes right along with what Eternal Remembrance is. It's a technology advancement, one of the many that have happened over just the last few years in funeral service. But I'm excited for you. I'm excited for what you guys are doing there, and tell us a little bit about Eternal Remembrance. Tell us. We'll get into what it is, but let's get into what it is first, and then we'll get into how it began and why it
Okay.
began. So tell me
All
a
right.
little bit about what the program is.
So Eternal Remembrance started out as a web app. We are now a full downloadable mobile app. So you can catch us on the Google Store and on the iOS Play stores. We are an app that allows people to share memories, stories, videos, pictures, and voice recordings that your family members who were deceased leave behind.
Mm-hmm.
It allows someone to go out and create a memorial page and then share it through text messages or emails or Facebook, all the typical social media and sharing platforms, to let them know that your loved one has passed away, and then they can start to share all the memories they have of your loved one. So it becomes a social sharing site for your grief, for your memories. It allows you to collect all the photos and videos and memories that you may never even have known. But we then take it a step further and allow you to pin or GPS geotag where memories like a hole in one, where they're buried, a park bench or a tree in their honor somewhere, grandma's favorite spot on a beach. You can geotag them, and then others know where those memories happened. Like for instance, I was talking to a lady this morning that runs a grief cruise,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, listen, they go on these cruises and they scatter their cremation remains at sea, and then they have the coordinates of it so they could geotag exactly where grandma was spread out in the middle of the ocean off of a cruise ship. And
Wow.
um, it's a new way of creating a digital walk through someone's life. um, you know People who didn't know them get a chance to know them through some of the shared memories, and then future generations can go find exactly where grandma and grandpa were engaged, or that where their old farmhouse stood. This is where grandma and grandpa got engaged, right here on an old farm ground, which is now maybe a Walmart parking lot. They can see all that stuff and see the history that's evolved through those different spots. And the app will allow people to, when they have the app and they're walking through those spots, it'll pop up and say, "Hey, there's a memory of grandma here." And then you can say, "Oh, I was thinking of grandma today. I walked through here and her memory popped up. Here's a picture I found of her," or just wanted to reach out to you guys and say I was thinking of grandma today. So it's a continuous, uh, evolving grief support program
Mhm.
as well. I mean, after the funeral and the wake and everything and memorial service, a lot of times those things, they're on a funeral home website or on a thumb drive somewhere, and they don't get thought about or brought back out again, for
Yeah.
sometimes ever. But this allows it to be brought back to the surface and their memories shared.
Well, it sounds so interesting because we're so used to obituaries, being in funeral service, and yes, an obituary is in many cases nowadays digital, through the internet. You can find it on a funeral home website or a newspaper or something. But that's really a snapshot. That doesn't give you those opportunities. The way you describe it, if a person really wanted to use the program in its entirety, you could really walk through somebody's entire life, all over the world. And it sounds like adding these pins at different GPS sites or different sites of just about anything.
Yeah, so
If
we
I'm hearing correct.
also one of the other things that we just added recently was a timeline feature. So as you share the memories, it asks you when it was taken or when the memory was,
Yeah.
and it'll create a timeline of their life. So you want to scroll back to see sixth grade or 1990 or whatever. You can go back and forth and see all the memories from basically from start to finish. um, it's like that poem, The Dash.
Yeah.
It becomes that person's life, that dash, everything from the time they were born to the time they were, unfortunately deceased. But it creates that, fills in a history, a digital legacy for them.
To drop the pins on there, do you have to physically be at that location, or can you, if you know where it's at, can you go online and drop a pin, say at the family farm or whatever, so that it pops up whenever somebody goes by there?
Yeah, so we built in a address feature. So if
Mhm.
when you set it up, if you know all those places, you can go in and enter the address. For instance, a lot of people don't always make it to the graveyard, right away. Grandma might have lived 3 states away or something, and they want to drop a pin in the graveyard so they can, or the cemetery, I should, not a graveyard.
Well,
But
you're East Coast. That's what they
yeah,
call it in the East Coast.
but they can enter the address of the cemetery and and just drop a pin there, and then we have a mobile locator tool. So once the people are there, it'll say, "Hey, I see you're near a memory. Would you like to use your mobile locator tool to make this pin more accurate?"
Yeah.
Um, so you can actually then go and stand on her memorial and then hit mark the spot, and then it marks it more accurately. So yeah, you can use coordinates and addresses from anywhere and set them up.
That is super. That really is cool. I was on it before we got on this call. I was on, what are the one of the ancestry sites, the family heritage sites, if you will. And as much as I love being on those, it's really cool because it shows you a timeline of somebody's life, but it's again very sterile. It's like an obituary. It's just pages or pictures, but this actually gives you the opportunity to experience it, or either online or to actually go somewhere and stand in the same spot where, like you say, this is where grandma and grandpa got engaged or something, and to stand on that very same spot.
Yeah,
That's
we have a
just
guy who lost his father, and they were huge hunters, and he took it out in the woods and marked his tree stand, where he's hunted with him for 40 years, and
yeah.
that kind of stuff. So there's all these different memories of people. If he didn't mark that, his kids, maybe his grandkids, they can go there on grandpa's birthday and hike out to see his tree stand and be there and celebrate those memories or something.
Sure.
It's it's really interesting, all the different things that I see that people, like a hole in one. There's one guy on here that had a hole in one, and they marked where his hole in one was, and when his buddies go out, they message and say, "Hey, I was thinking of Raymond today, and we're on his hole in one," and you know, so it continuously makes people aware, of the people that they've lost, and continuously sharing that grief support,
Right.
and through that.
Right.
So,
That's really cool. Well, how did you come up with this? I mean, what was the theory behind, you know what, we need to make something that's different than what's currently available? How did you come up with this plan?
well, years ago, not many years ago. I'm trying to remember what year it was exactly. It was probably 2015 or 16. A friend of mine,
Mhm.
her dad was a small trucking company owner, so he owned 4 or 5 trucks,
Sure.
coal trucks, hauling coal and stone and stuff, like construction material. And he was going out the highway here locally, one of the local highways, and they were moving a windmill blade across the highway in the fog.
Oh my.
So fog
Those aren't
is
small.
fog is what color?
Yeah.
White, and
Yeah.
windmill blades are what color? So like it doesn't stand out very well.
No.
So he come out of the fog bank and saw the guys on the road with the windmill blade, and yanked the wheel to miss him, and rolled his truck and was killed.
Oh boy.
Um, the day of his final committal at the cemetery, they made a plan that they were going to have a final send off and a salute to him. So trucking companies from all over sent, their trucks all shined up, and American flags and Marine Corps flag, because he was a Marine veteran,
Hmm.
and hundreds of people lined the streets to watch it, because it was, going to be a spectacular scene. And I wasn't able to attend it in person that day, but it was on the news and it was on Facebook. And the more I watched it, I was like, you know, how do you tell somebody, what he did, not only what he did to deserve it, but what people did to send him off? I mean, he had young grandkids and stuff. So
Right.
someday that video and stuff, and it's funny because I've messaged people that were there and had videos. Nobody knows where they are anymore.
Yeah.
So that memory is gone of that day. It's very hard to find, for one, but you know the memories of everything that he did for everybody to deserve that. How do you can preserve them using our platform, so that they don't just become another plot in a cemetery, and nobody knows who they are, or why they're why they what they did for everybody, that they came in contact with. He was a great guy. And it's unfortunate, that people spend their whole lives creating memories, but then when you're dead, um, it's hard to find a way to easily, um, memorialize them.
Hmm.
So I decided to come up with something different than originally. I went and, thought of a QR code on a memorial stone, and uh, I found out that they were already being used. The technology
Right.
was already out there, but they were problematic. People, if they're wet, they don't work. If they're dusty, they don't work. If the sun's too bright, they don't work. So then I started trying to figure out another way to do it, and I come up with the GPS. Why not geolocate people's memory? I don't even have to have a QR code or something there for people to see. Then, my app drives everything. I can geofence an entire area. Once you walk into a cemetery, they can get a notification, hey, welcome to Greenwood Cemetery, and
Right.
then you can see all the memories that are in there, where they can pop up, information that the cemetery wants you to see. And the same thing for the funeral homes. We're working on an app, part of our app right now, where uh, you walk into a funeral home, have a digital sign in, either on their own device or on an iPad, and get an invite to participate in the memorial.
Okay.
And then the funeral home can have our screen, or our app, up on the screen live, and as people are sharing memories, then they're digitally shared on the big screens live. So,
I see.
instead of just having a 25 or 50 slideshow, you now get a complete interactive display of people who are sharing digital memories live during their wake and funeral. And then afterwards, forever, they can just click on that link and watch a slideshow. So it's a whole new way of engaging, you know, the memories and the people that hold them.
That's what I love about what we do in funeral service. I've said it a lot, but for many years, there really hasn't been much change in funeral service. These last 5 years, these last 10 years,
Yeah.
it's just exploded. And the reality is, most of the things that are coming out now are coming out from folks just like you that said, you know what, I just want to do something to help. I want to do something to serve, and I want to do something to improve what we have, and just kind of running with it, using your imagination. Boom, Eternal Remembrance is born. And I don't know of another platform that's doing what you're doing. That's why I was so excited to get you on here. Was, to me, it's super cool. It's really just exciting to be able to, give you a little personal story, a little personal background of mine. I come from a town that my great great grandfathers moved into years ago, back in the early 1900s, and they grew up there. They had children there, which became my great grandparents. They had children, which became my grandparents. They had my parents. And I can go back, I can go anywhere. I grew up in the same town. I've been all over that town and had no idea where anything of that took place, except for through old dusty pictures from back in the 20s and 30s, and trying to find houses or things like that and doing a research. Now, with using what you've got there on your platform, we could drop a pin on a house and say, this is where my great grandparents were born, or my great grandmother was born, for example. This is where this took place. This is where that took place. And then anytime we go back to the town, you could have a whole walking tour or driving tour of somebody's life.
Yep.
To me, that is exciting. That's exciting stuff.
Yeah, and it's especially cool too because I have kind of the same thing here, where my family grew up here, my great aunts and uncles, my grandmother was born here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's amazing to see, like, you can take those locations, those places, and find those old pictures and share them and drop a pin there. And then to be able to go stand there and go, wow, you know, things have really changed. It's really neat to see, you know, because we live in an old railroad town. We're right on what they call the main line
Right.
from Harrisburg west. So anything that comes in on the East Coast in the Northeast comes through Crescent. Well, it's a huge historical area. But just to be able to see, you know, where grandma was born, or they lost their farm to a fire
Mm-hmm.
many, 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 many years ago. But one of the things that happened out there near their farm was the Red Arrow came through there and wrecked. I don't know if you ever hear the Red Arrow. It was a train that wrecked out there, and was
Right.
a
Yeah.
lot of people were killed on or injured. The Horseshoe Curve.
Mm-hmm.
I live minutes from the Horseshoe Curve.
Wow.
So like the area is so historical, but to be able to go back in time and walk those locations and see, what has changed and what memories are there, um, it's really cool because your loved ones are tied to those locations.
Yeah.
And I know it now, but does my daughter know it? Does my granddaughter, will they know it? It seems like a lot of that stuff gets lost as we don't spend time with our parents and our grandparents like we used to. And they sat and told us stories. When the Red Arrow wrecked, they told us all about it. 100 times. You get tired of hearing these stories, but that's how they pass history.
Sure.
So now we've got a different way of passing down their memories and creating their legacy. And I always say you're never truly gone until you're no longer remembered.
Yeah.
And this helps keep them alive.
So let's look at some of the stuff that comes. So you were kind enough to send me a kit an Eternal Remembrance kit. Inside that is a very cool collector's box. I just want to hold it up here and see if, I don't know if you can see this or not. It's designed to sit on your, it's designed to sit on your desktop. It's designed to, it has your logo on it, but it also can have the funeral home's logo on it, so that they could use it as a way to display this option to their families.
Right. So what it is it comes. We created what we call the memorial kit, which is
Right.
what you got. We retail them to the funeral home or wholesale them to the funeral home, and then they retail them.
Right.
And then once the family purchases them, inside there you'll find there should be a user's guide in your.
Yep.
Inside that is a 12-digit code. Once the family purchases it or the funeral home gifts it, some of the funeral homes give it with a certain package up.
Oh, nice.
So once you get into a certain package, it's included, kind of thing. But once they get that, decide to go with it, then they get that code. They go on our website, enter that 12-digit code. They enter, their date of birth, their date of death, hometown, a little bit of information about them, and 2 pictures, and then you're able to share it out through text messages or emails or whatever you decide to share, say Facebook, and
Right.
say, Aunt Susie passed away last night. I'd like to get your memories of her collected here. And then anybody can just start sharing their memories. They create a login. The family gets a entire list of everybody who signs in and follows the page, so they can reach out directly and contact them if they desire. But we also put a lot of thought into the privacy and the security of it. The privacy part of it, you can make it entirely public. Anybody
Okay.
can see everything on it if they want, or private. There's a button there to make that memorial private, and it allows people then to be invite only, or if they find the page on our site through the name, you can request access to it, and then it asks you, why do you want to see this memorial page? And you can say, I used to work with her, or we were
Sure.
cousins, and then the admin get a message saying so and so would like to have access to the page, and then they can either grant it or deny it. We spent a lot of time talking to funeral home owners all over the country at conferences and stuff, to drive what options they thought would be important. One of the things on there too is a report button. There's 3 little buttons on every post. You click it, and if you report it, it automatically comes out of the post until an admin gets a notification to either release it back, because we do have cases where, somebody will say, oh, I missed that old, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. And people are like, oh my God,
Yeah. Yeah.
they
Yeah.
take it off. But then, the admins will go back and say, oh, that's just how they talked, and that's okay.
Right. Right.
So we did put a lot of time and effort and thought into all of that kind of stuff, to make it what the families and the funeral directors kind of thought they would like to have.
That's great. Now tell me, this another thing that kind of caught my attention, um, is the coin that's in here. I'm going to show you 2 different ones. This is the one on the screen. This is the coin that is actually attached to the box. And I'm going to reattach mine. It came off, unfortunately, but I'll get it reattached. But then there's a keepsake coin that looks like a, oh, what would you call this? It's a,
Challenge coin.
well, like a challenge coin.
Yeah.
Tell me about the coins. Tell me how the coins work.
Well, the one that you showed me the first time, that's what we call them, the emblem. Yep.
Right.
We call that an emblem, so that you can use epoxy from any hardware store if you desire to. We've had people drill little holes in them and use little screws, but you can mount that on a memorial somewhere,
Okay.
just to signify, you know, here's we have a page for your grandma to remember her on Eternal Remembrance. So once they say, because on there it says visit with me at Eternal Remembrance.
Right.
Um, Once they pull up Eternal Remembrance, our app will know where they're standing and automatically pull that page up. So there's no scanning, there's no nothing. And then you can mount that, in the cemetery, or you can mount it, in a mausoleum or on a park bench, or put a string
Mhm.
on it, put it on a tree that you planted in their honor. So it's just kind of like a beautiful way of marking where you're memorializing them. But then the coin, um, we make them so that they match the emblem, and then the family can carry that in their pocket, or put it in a desk drawer, or somewhere that you are always um, able to see it, and to think of grandma or grandpa, whoever the
Yeah.
coin signifies. Then it's just a nice way of bringing their memory back to the forefront of your mind. Um,
Now the coin itself, I'm taking it out of the wrapper here to make it a little easier. You can get additionals of these to give out at services as a remembrance.
yes.
Here's the backside of it. You can order, a handful of these or whatever to give out to family members. Is that right?
Yeah, a lot of people that purchase them, they'll buy one for every grandkid or one for every
Yeah.
sibling, or something like that. They'll buy, some of them buy 15 or 20 of them. Some, just to kind of hand out, like you said, to the immediate family members and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or we have
Yeah.
people that come back afterwards, and have they saw it and they want to buy one, and they'll just order one, for their own sake of having it.
The emblem that we looked at first, the one that says visit it, says visit with me at Eternal Remembrance. Can you get additionals of those if you want to put them on multiple different sites or multiple different pins, say a
Yes, sir.
bench here and coffee
Yep.
stand down the road or something?
Yep, absolutely. We
Yeah.
have one of the guys that had a restaurant, used to own a restaurant,
Okay.
and when he passed away, they sold the restaurant, but the family put one of them in there with his picture on a plaque. And then people go in there and share memories of him and stuff like that.
Nice.
It's a neat way to, because now the family collects memories of all the patrons who, um, have been going in there for years and knew
Yeah.
him. But, think of, I did a speech one time at a seminar, and I picked the most popular guy in the room. And I said, "How many know him?" Everybody raised their hand. I said, "All right, you're all from all over the place. How many how many of you are going to go to his funeral?" And like people kind of looked around at each other. A few raised their hands, like 8 or 10,
Yeah.
of the 150 people who are in there. I said, "So that's 8 or 10 of you that are going to go and physically tell the family, I'm sorry for your loss. What else are you going to do? Buy flowers, or this or that?" And it kind of gets lost in the mumbo jumbo. But if you're able then to say, because then I asked them, I said, "How many of you have memories of him?"
Uh-huh.
And they all raised their hands. "How many have photos of conferences and stuff that you've all been to, or the after parties and stuff?" And a lot of them raised their hand, 30, 40, 50 people.
Yeah.
Um, and I said, "Okay." I said, "How do you share those memories with them? You know, you can put it on Facebook or something, but Facebook doesn't categorize anything. They won't save it. If that memorial page is hacked, it's gone." I've had so many people reach out to me, saying like, my dad's memorial page that we had set up for him got hacked and it's gone, or I went in there today and it's gone. How do I get it back? You're
Mm-hmm.
not going to get it back. So
Yeah.
that's the problem with that. But this provides a way then for them all to share. They're, "Hey, sorry for your loss. I met your husband in Las Vegas. Him and I. Here's a picture of us at the slot machines. After the conference, whatever it is. They all have memories of him that the family may never have ever gotten a chance to know, because there's no way of
Sure.
truly creating that digital legacy to them."
Yeah. So when somebody finds the emblem, let's say they go to a park bench or whatever, they find this emblem attached to it and it says visit at return or at Eternal Remembrance, and they go on there, is that open to the public where they can immediately see that, or is that something that the admin has to let them into as well?
No, they can see a map of memories.
Okay.
So that memory will show up on our map,
Yeah.
and they click on it, and if it's private, it'll just have the name. It'll
I
say
see.
like, Grandma XYZ,
Yeah.
and if they click on it, it'll say, "This account is private. If you'd like to see it, please request." But it at least has their name and date of birth and date of death, so that people know who the memory is there for. But typically, if you're putting it in a public place, most people that do that do allow it to be public, but you can choose not to. We also work with first responders and military and police officers who are killed in the line of duty. So we have special boxes that are the red, white, and blue logo, and they're black. So what we do is we offer them a coin with the red, white, and blue logo and the flag,
I see. Yeah.
So that it's kind of like the Gold Star family package, and we donate them to the families and we send them out. And those ones do not show up at all on our memorial pages. We allow the family complete privacy. So, if you get someone who's killed in the line of duty and they get one of these boxes, they're separate from everybody else unless they allow it to be public, so that they can invite all their friends and family and police officers or firemen to participate in that page, but allow it to be private because it's such a public deal that you could get a lot of flack from people who have no business being on there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So we kind of tailor it to fit a lot of different circumstances.
I'm assuming that this is not a timed response, as far as I would assume that once you put it on there, it's on there. It doesn't come off after a year or two. It's available.
Right. Yep. It's on there forever. Once you purchase it, it's hosted there forever. We host on Amazon Web Services in triplicate, so it's backed up and 2 times over.
Yeah.
It's a very secure, very fast, worldwide. I mean, I used to have servers, but the ability just to maintain them and to keep them up to date, and then we got to the point where we had to have one in Chicago and one in Southern California because of the time lapses, and it just became too much. So the Amazon Web Services were the best way to store them.
Well, it's definitely something when you want to go on and share a memory or see a memory or have a memory, you don't want to wait because the server's down. You want to be able to have instant access. So it makes perfect sense to me. I'm just really pumped. I think this is really cool. A funeral home can partner with you and have these co-branded so that the boxes, the advertising can be co-branded. Can a family come direct to you and purchase direct from you?
We're selling direct to consumer now, but we will not be shortly. I'd say probably in the next 5 to 6 months, everything will go through our funeral home partners.
So
only because we're building our network of funeral home partners. We want, they're the ones that are going to be our front line to the world, basically.
Sure.
So we don't want one of your funeral home members to say, "Hey, I want to partner with you," and then they go out and they tell a family about it, and they go home and they Google it, and it's the same price as the funeral home, so they just buy it off of me.
Right.
So we don't want to do that. I mean, they're the ones that are out there saying, "Hey, this is what it is. We've partnered with these guys. Here's the information about it," and then they just go home and order it off of me anyway. So, we're trying to cut that out so that it's not.
Yeah. Well, if you're co-branding like that, then definitely you want to make it so it's available through the funeral home only, for sure. It's, gosh, I don't know. To me, it's really intriguing. I don't know why I'm so intrigued with it. I kind of have this, I do a lot of geocaching. In fact, our association actually has a Geocoin that's floating around the world right now that we, it was kind of fun. I'll kind of sidestep here, but we put it at a spot down in Nashville, right next door to Johnny Cash's grave. And now we find that it's currently traveling to Hawaii to be moved to Hawaii. And it's so cool because it's a coin very similar to these, but when people find it and they go on, it takes them then to our website. This is kind of, in a way, kind of the same thing. You put this coin out, say on a bench or a tree or something, and somebody comes along and sees it, that tells the life story. And it really is a great way to continue, like you said, the person continues to live as long as the stories continue to be told. And this is a great way to continue on with those stories for years to come.
Yep, exactly. And it's amazing to see. I have people all the time that reach out to me for so many different things, and some of them are just so heart wrenching. I don't want to give too many details, but I should have told my son this, or I didn't realize that he was doing this because of that, and I blew him off or whatever. And now he's not here anymore. Um, it's very, because people share their memories on there, and then they
Yeah.
get to learn more about their loved ones. And um, it's very touching to see some of the stuff that people find out on there and then message me back or call me and share. And I get, people buy these for the families, or the funeral homes provide them, and then like I get a letter, very tear jerking, handwritten personal letters, like they just pop up in the mailbox at the office. And it makes me feel good that they're
Sure.
getting that kind of satisfaction out of it, because that you don't often get that interaction back with somebody. It's usually an email or this or that. But I get cards from people who now have them, that are that somebody bought them as a gift, and it's very cool to see the reaction that we're getting from the end user. And the
Yeah.
funeral homes, I mean, they have the ability to add additional services, and definitely additional revenue that they could definitely use at this
Yeah.
time too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's um,
One of the things I wanted to ask you about and kind of point out at the same time, you mentioned Facebook. And with COVID, we've seen a lot of, all of a sudden live streaming is something. It's not new. It's been around
right.
forever. Well, not forever, for the last 10 years. But now with COVID, it's the big talk. That's what everybody does. But we see a lot of people that are saying, "Oh, no, no, no. We're not going to get a service. We'll just do it like a Facebook Live. It's easier, it's less expensive." But the problem that I find with that, and this is leading me to a question for you about this service. The problem that I find with Facebook Live is, in many instances, there are songs that are muted, or poems, people
Copyrighted.
talking that are muted because of copyright issues. And I wanted to touch base with you on that, because you mentioned that you could record your loved one, you could record your loved one doing something and be able to hear that recording on this program. My grandfather was a person that loved to sing and sang in church all the time. I put one of his videos on Facebook once, just as a memory, and immediately it got muted
Yeah.
by Facebook, by the
Yep.
algorithms. That doesn't happen, I'm assuming. That doesn't
No.
happen with what Eternal Remembrance is doing. I could put it onto there and be able to go back and drop a pin, say at the church, and say, on this date, Grandpa sang this song, and here it is.
Yep.
Here's the recording of it.
Yep, for sure. And that's
Wow.
that's one of the things that we're also working with. We're looking into different partnerships with, like, well, I can't, but some of the music providers and stuff like that for the
Mhm.
slideshow.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to cause any ruffles. People do like their music with their slideshows and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So, obviously through our site we can play it as a background music. It's not like Facebook, where I had one time we posted singing "Happy Birthday," and somebody had a song in the background just playing the music, no words, and
Yeah.
it all you see is everybody, like, you know,
Yeah. Isn't that
it
amazing?
blocked the entire audio. I'm like, are you kidding me? Um, it blows me away how it blocks everything anymore, and it's so
Yeah.
censored, and and it's not secure. Like, they'll delete you in a heartbeat if it's something that, they
Sure,
get
sure.
hacked or anything like that. So,
One other question for you. How does the program itself, how does the web version of it or the app version of it, how does it integrate with funeral home websites? Now, I see out here a lot of the funeral homes use the same, let's say 4 or 5 different web hosts to create their websites. So using those top 4, let's say, and I'm not going to tell you who they are. I'm sure you know who they are, but
yeah.
how does that integrate? Could you add this into your website for that process?
Well, we are currently working with a few funeral home groups who own their own websites,
Mm-hmm.
that are pretty large, and we are working on integrating the APIs with all their funeral homes.
Good, good.
So that will be an ideal situation where instead of having a listing of obituaries, that our app will still have an obituary section, but once you click on it, then you'll be able to share your memories live with the family and stuff too, and
Yeah,
create that. Um, but some of the larger ones, we have not reached out to the bigger ones yet, but that's an ultimate game plan of ours, is to reach out to some of the top guys and say, hey, if we partner with you, we'll integrate our memorial app, our mobile app, and your funeral homes then can, once they're assigned that value, that funeral home number, it'll automatically pop into their funeral home website. Um,
sure.
so it creates a dual world for them to be shared, because not only are they on the funeral home website, now they're in the mobile app and they're on our website and they're searchable, and um, it helps the funeral home too for more publicity, because now the funeral home has this great new service. Hey, I was at the so and so's funeral home, and we were able to live stream our memories to the big screens, and it creates that enhanced experience for
Yeah.
families that don't normally get that kind of treatment and that kind of service.
Well, Tom, you got me sold. This is I just love this thing. It's pretty cool. How can somebody reach you or Eternal Remembrance? How can we reach out and find out more about this? Obviously, we're going to promote it as much as we can, but how does somebody else reach out to you to find this?
Well, you can get all of our information on our website, which is eternalremembrance.com, which is ETernalRemembrance.com.
Okay.
I'm on LinkedIn, so if any of the funeral home directors want to reach me on LinkedIn, I'm on just under Tom McConnell.
Yeah.
But we have a Twitter and a Facebook page and all that stuff as well. So go out, follow us, reach out on any of those platforms, and we'll definitely we'd love to have your members as part of our team, and moving forward, and get
Absolutely.
this out to as many people as we can, and create some cool maps.
Yeah, no, this is actually really cool. I am so grateful that you came on and that you shared with me one of these packets, these startup kits, I guess you could say,
Yeah, Memorial
because
Kit.
it's really when you get it in your hands, you can see it online, but when you actually get it tangible, it's in your hands. It really makes a lot of sense, and it's really pretty cool to see how this is going to work. And so I'm excited. I want to we're going to try to create one out here and see how it works out for people.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, you get her set up and let me know what you think. And in the meantime, we'll stay in touch, and let me know. I look forward to hoping to hear from all your members.
That's awesome. Well, Eternal Remembrance, go check them out. Great program, brand new program. It's not something that everybody's doing right now, and check them out. You can be the first ones to offer it in your community. And Tom, I wish you the best. I just think that this is a really cool idea that you had, and I'm glad you ran with it and opened it up to us all.
Thank you very much for having me. I look forward to it.
All right. Until next week, see you guys.